When I first started using this power wheelchair in this new building that I was in, I was first upstairs on second floor, and I remember I had a big room, too big for me. I had my walker. I wasn't quite sure how to maneuver around this big space. And the bathroom, I remember, was pretty small, and I couldn't make a full turn. So I would have to use my walker to really get in, and it was just a lot of walking in that room to get from point A to point B. You all will remember perhaps the background had all kinds of pictures on it. It was kind of nice, but I found it, one, too big, and two, is on second floor. And if there was ever a fire or an emergency, I would not be able to use the stairs. So that second reason began to concern me. And some people said, oh, the firemen will get you down. It's like, why distract the fire department? If we have rooms downstairs, why don't we just use a room downstairs for me? So eventually they did move me, and which was great, but I was in a smaller room. And of course, I have a lot of electronics and boxes and stuff, and I was a bit tight. So I kept on crashing into my own stuff. I was crashing into a particular wall when I was trying to get out of my room, and I kept on scraping that wall over and over. So then I asked the institution to please put a corner protector there, which they did. And so that gave me some relief that, I wouldn't take that wall down. Then the bathroom was a little difficult. I always had to back out of it. I couldn't make a full turn either. So because otherwise I would bang into the sink cabinets. I would bang into the toilet. I would bang into something. So I was really making a mess. So I always had to back out. And I could not go fast in that bedroom, because otherwise I would crash into ultimately something, whether it was my bed, whether it was the corner of that particular wall, whether it was my desk over here where I have all my tools. Everything would go flying. So it was a little frustrating. I didn't complain because, moving is a big deal. And so I just had to go slow and really learn the width of my power wheelchair, where it fit, where it didn't. So that was just my bedroom. Then it was getting around the facility, what was going to be a safe maneuvering, because there was a lot of people here. And I had to establish basically my own rules, because there was nobody here who had really used a power wheelchair. And I did not have contact with rehab here to kind of ask the questions, okay, what kind of things do I need to keep in mind? But I gradually began to learn on my own, certain things like look both ways when you're coming out of your door. Slow down when you're getting to a corner and you're going to turn around, turn the corner, just almost stop before you make that turn so you don't take somebody out, which wouldn't be very polite. I didn't have difficulties with ramps because everything was accessible. We didn't have steps or anything here, so that wasn't an issue. I think what was a difficult planning was the dining room, because the tables were pretty close to each other, so we separated them to give me space to get around and for other people to get around, because everybody had walkers. So, so in the dining room, I did have to go much slower. So that was another rule that I established for myself. Speeding down the halls was not a very good idea because I never knew if somebody was going to come out one of the doors. So, it had to do with speed, a proper speed, turning the corners, not to bang into, my walls in my bedroom. So it was all these kind of things that I had to kind of work out myself and make sure I did follow, my own rules, which is kind of nice. Um, Transportation was a bit of a challenge. I had to learn county services and the buses here and the systems and the bus was great because it did go to a commercial center where I could get some things done and I signed up for the county vans where it would go from my door to wherever I needed to go. So if the weather was bad, then I knew I could use that, or just an appointment I really needed to be on time. So the vans were going to be a big part of what was going to help me get to important things that I needed to get to, not only just appointments, but social things as well. So, so the van was really, county van services were really important for me. Um, Acceptance, I had already used a manual wheelchair in the past. So I didn't have issues using the power wheelchair. I was, I know at the beginning when my therapist brought it up, I had worked a couple of years earlier to get out of the manual wheelchair. And so now the wheelchair topic came back into conversation. And I was like, I just got out of the manual wheelchair. But, it was obvious that I was falling and having balance issues and having a lot of pain. So, especially when I was going out and coming back home. So something needed to change, and that was a wheelchair in the form of a power wheelchair. And I was like, I didn't know what to do with that. So I would say it was a process of getting used to the power wheelchair and the heavy duty machinery that I was going to have to learn how to use. Some social shifts, some groups and things that I belonged to, I participated less, and especially if they're out of county, I didn't have a way to get there unless somebody took me, and I would use my walker, which was kind of touch and go, because that was getting pretty hard for me. I would say, gaining independence and freedom was a process to get used to the county van and its patterns. In independence, I was doing okay, getting out. I still felt a little limited, but it was working. You know, in terms of struggles, emotional struggles. Let me go back on that one a little bit. The nurse we had here initially she did not like my wheelchair at all. She didn't like me using the wheelchair at all. She didn't understand the purpose of the wheelchair at all. so, so she would, lash me with a noodle anytime she got a chance. And at some point, emotionally, I had to scream that out and just say, I have to look out for my needs and what is most important. So once I got through that, she could continue with the negativity, but I was able to move beyond that and know that I was doing the right thing according to what I agreed to in rehab. So, so independence, physically and emotionally, which was really important. Uh, Discovering new communities of wheelchair users, kind of, here on my channel, of course. And then I've been interacting with the United Spinal Association, so I have their T-shirt. You've seen that, and I exchange emails with them from time to time, and they'll send me some notifications, and I'll take a look at them if I need to sign something or participate in something. So yeah, I on purpose I've gone out to look for new communities of wheelchair users. Uh, finding finding humor in some situations. I would tease a member sometimes. I can run you over, so you better watch it. so, so I would tease them, in terms of humor, so they would just know that things didn't have to be seen in such a heavy way. I would just say, watch it if you're running around here at midnight because you might bump into me. And then I'll run you over. So, but I would tease them and joke about it so they wouldn't see it as serious as, oh my gosh, Lisa is in a wheelchair. No, Lisa's in a wheelchair because she needs it, because it helps her with pain. So that was the basics of it, and they got there eventually. So what did I learn from all of this in the process of getting my power wheelchair, and learning about the power wheelchair, learning about myself, learning about the building? It's really what it boils down to. What it boils down to is patience with yourself and with others around you, whether it's a professional or not. Advocating for your needs. We did have a door that did not have an automatic button, and that door was very, very heavy, I remember. And the manager had no hesitation on getting some funds to put an automatic button. So that door now, for a couple of years now, has an automatic button, and it helps me, but it also helps the members in my community. So that's really important. I didn't say a whole lot about that. I didn't advocate much about that. I just said little things like, boy, that door is heavy. So, man, it was hard to open that door today. So I would drop a few hints here and there. And soon enough, we got a button and a system that opens the door now. Celebrate, what could I celebrate? I could celebrate I am well versed in my power wheelchair now. I know where not to go, where not to squeeze myself into or through. I can talk about power wheelchairs now with some wisdom. I still have to do a little bit of research for you guys, but otherwise I can talk about my experiences in my power wheelchair, and I'm hoping that experience is helpful for all of you. Power wheelchairs are a heavy piece of equipment, but can get you from point A to point B, give you some freedom you didn't have before. And, it's so important to be connected to an organization that can help you with repairs if that ever comes up. Mine only came up a couple of times, and, it's been a good power wheelchair. And I'm hoping that my next experiences of switching it out for a newer model will be a positive experience, and I can share that with all of you. Being in a wheelchair is just using a tool, as I've said so many times, and it's helped me a lot to keep the pain down and not have to increase medication. So that's the trade-off. I could do more medication and walk a little bit more, but I would be very, very groggy and uncomfortable, with the heavy medication. So it is just a dynamic that I have to deal with each day, So, the first year wasn't that it had its challenges. It wasn't easy, but it gave me strength I never knew I had in terms of thinking and problem solving all the way through, and knowing how to clean it, knowing who to call if they needed a repair, if I wasn't sure about something, so it was a first year of a lot of learning. And if you're new to this journey of wheelchairs and power wheelchairs or manual wheelchairs, you're not alone. There's a lot of us on this channel that are seeking information, that are looking forward to that particular answer. So that's why I try to keep my videos as varied as possible so that that one answer that you needed is there somewhere. But, Google helps a lot to post our videos so that you can also find them there. So share with us what your challenges were in your first year of using your power wheelchair or your manual wheelchair. Post for us, what kind of challenge did you face that was difficult to work through? And that'll kind of give other, pointers, and so people don't feel alone in their struggles. So that's where I will post a video up above so you can continue to look at some other tips and ideas for your wheelchair as you begin to learn, your way through the situation with your wheelchair, because it's really important to begin to feel comfortable with yourself, with the wheelchair, with others, and the space you're in. So I'm hoping all of this helps, and you can also get some other pointers from the video up above. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.